32,000 votes out of over 8 million votes cast. It was less than 0.5% victory margin. And in reality, that was nothing unusual for Florida. If you go back 2010, 12, 14, 16, and 18, the governor or presidential race in all of those years decided by 1 point. And we were kind of this closely divided swing state. If you don't win Florida, you can't win the whole thing nationally, and then fighting tooth and nail to win these offices for Republicans in Florida from governor on down. And so I go into this situation, and the state was, people thought it was a very delicate political bout. So I was told, be mindful of that. Don't do anything rash to upset that balance. Keep your head down. Don't rock the boat, because if you do that, it could end up tipping against us, and we may not do well in the future. And I understood the advice. Honestly, it was not crazy advice, but I rejected that advice. My view is I may have received 50% of the vote, but that entitled me to wield 100% of the executive power, and I intended to do that to the hilt to make sure that I was able to advance conservative policies in the state. And we would do that by leading based on conviction and principle and not consulting polls. So since I've been governor, we've not taken a single poll on any of these issues the entire time. Why would I want to be led by polls? A leader is not captive to poll results. A leader sets out a vision, executes the vision, and delivers results for people. And if you do that, it doesn't matter what the poll said initially. People will follow you. They will go in your direction. So we get ahead of things and we lead. We also just made it very clear, when you're going into executive position, you're the one that kind of makes decisions, and you got to make good decisions. You can set the agenda, and it's all very important. But you just doing that isn't enough. You got to have people in the administration who share the vision and who are going to put kind of the agenda ahead of their own agenda. And we just made it very clear at the beginning, because you can make the decisions. If they're going to act to frustrate your agenda, or they're not carrying out the agenda, then none of this ends up working out. So we said very clearly to people, if you're leaking, if you're bringing a different agenda into this administration, pack your bags right now. You're gone. We're not putting up with it. And the result is that we've had over 4 years, we don't leak to the media. There's no palace intrigue, very little, there's no drama about anything like behind the scenes. All it is just daily execution of the mission. And that's the reason why we've been able to get so much stuff done. We don't get diverted with all the nonsense that's out there. So we set that down on day one. We also said, I'm not going to be like some other Republicans. Some of these guys get into office and they're like potted plants. They don't do anything. And I'm thinking to myself, like, we need to go on offense. That's how you win. You go on offense. And so we said we're going on offense. We're going to make sure that we're getting ahead of issues. We're going to make sure we're raising. Because look, anytime you make a decision as a leader, some people are going to like it and some people don't. So if your whole kind of ambition is to not upset anybody, well, one way to do that is just never do anything. Don't make tough decisions, and so you don't. That's not leadership. And so we said, we're going to be diving in. You can sometimes you could just, wait above everything, hope things die, and so you don't have to do it. We said, no, if we see something that needs to be addressed, we're going to lean in on it. And I remember sitting at the desk in the Capitol in Tallahassee the first day I was governor, and I just looked around the room. I thought for a minute, and I said, I don't know what SOB is going to succeed me in this office, but I do know this. They're not going to have very much to do, because I'm getting all the meat off the bone, and I'm going to leave them an empty desk. And we have done that already with just 4.5 years. And then the final thing is leadership. When you get elected to certain offices, some people lead, some people don't. But when you're an executive, when you're a governor, like, if you don't lead, you're not going to be effective. It's really about leadership more than anything. And leadership, at the end of the day, is about doing what's right when you have intense opposition and a lot of unfair criticism, but you're still willing to chart the proper course. You got to have the fortitude to stand alone if necessary, if that's what the circumstances called upon. And so we were tasked with kind of doing that when COVID hit, because I was taking stands that were totally contrary to what the media was saying, what the narrative was demanding, what you had a lot of people in really both political parties. And so we said, you know, and I was taking a beating politically for this, being called all sorts of things. But, you know, I looked at it and I said, I got into this office to represent the people of this state. Their jobs must be more important to me than trying to sacrifice my own. So if I have to take on incoming, if I have to take on water politically to be able to preserve the jobs of the people I represent, then so be it. That's what leadership calls for. And so that's what we did. And in reality, when you just do what's right, it's not always easy in the moment. It may not always even be apparent that it's going to pay off in the short term. But over the long term, people remember if you fought for them when it wasn't easy. Because it's easy to stand for the right things when everyone's doing it. So that's what we were able to show. And so fast forward to November of 2022, where we came in with this approach, having won by 32,000 votes. We then get reelected by over 1.5 million votes, highest percentage of the vote that any Republican governor candidate has ever had in the history of the state of Florida. We won 62% of Hispanic voters in Florida. We won women voters by 8 percentage points. We won independents by 18 percentage points. We were able to flip blue urban counties like Miami-Dade red. And in fact, we won Miami-Dade, not just won it, we won it by double digits, which no one thought was possible even a year ago. We also flipped counties like Palm Beach. And as was mentioned, you know, it's not just about you. Like, yes, I was the top of the ticket, and my race was important that we could continue our task, but you're really trying to build a team, and politics is a team effort. So we helped members of the legislature, and we were able to help earn super Republican majorities in the Florida legislature. So these are the biggest majorities we've ever had in state history as Republicans. We did get involved in school board races. We targeted 34 races, and we were able to win 29 conservative school board members, sending them to office throughout Florida. And that just required us to, you know, send money, send help and all that, and actively get engaged in those races, but it's worth it. So now, statewide in Florida, there's not a single Democrat elected to statewide office for the first time since the Civil War period in Florida. There was a legacy. So when all the dust settled after the election, there was a corporate media outlet that ran an article with this headline, quote, "There's no plan, there's nothing. Florida Democrats in despair about the future." That is what you call winning if you're a Republican, let me tell you. So we're proud of that, but I think what it shows is, at the end of the day, you take a state like Florida that had been a swing state, and then you move it, you know, in a conservative direction. You know, why did that happen? You know, I'd like to think, you know, I don't think it's just because, like, you know, they just liked me. I think it was much more deep than that. I think it was about what we were standing for and the issues that we were parroting. And I think it shows that on key issues, the people, not just Republicans, the broader electorate side with us over the political left. I mean, just look at how we run our economy in Florida. Low debt, low taxation. New York State has almost 3 million fewer people than the state of Florida does now. And their budget is twice the size of the state of Florida's budget. And yet we have better roads, better infrastructure, higher performing schools. Where is all this money going to? You know, no one wants to be taxed, but when you're getting taxed and you see them frittering it away, you wonder why people flee that state and other similarly governed states. You also look at the federal government. Florida's economy is $1 trillion. Our debt is $20 billion. Compare our national government. The national debt is bigger by trillions